With the foundation built upon the past, the Southeast Japanese School and Community Center is considered a Norwalk treasure and is the focus for this edition of our Highlight in History.
Well, in 1925, there was a farm here right next door to this present land, and Nawa Ranch it was called, and the Nawa family owned that land, and they had a large grove here. And they donated, well, not donated, but they let us use the land to put Japanese school building here. And so the parents got together and built a small building there, and that's where the children came from all over this area. This area was mostly farmland at the time, so mostly farm children came here, but the families wanted to make sure that their second-generation children retained the Japanese language.
The year was 1928 when one of the center's oldest members, Eunice Kusunoki, attended Japanese school.
Every Saturday, all day was Japanese school, so we used to come, and then once a month they used to have Japanese movie here. So my dad used to love it, so he used to come. We used to all come.
There was nothing except for open fields and a ranch. When it rained, Eunice recalls their car getting stuck in the mud. There was a need for growth, and an opportunity to expand presented itself.
Around 1930, the land here was up for sale, and so the parents felt that they needed a place that they can expand, and so the building was moved to this land after they purchased it. Everybody contributed to the purchase of the land, and they built a larger building to house the Japanese school, and at that point they couldn't have other activities to go on in this facility.
And then I remember that they had 3 teachers. One was a father and the 2 of the son, and they used to teach.
At the time, she didn't realize just how important learning the language would be. Her family moved back to Japan at the onset of World War II.
It was really good for my experience, learning Japanese and all that. So when I went to Japan, I was able to go in the class that I left here, and knowing English, that helped a lot.
It helped a lot, not only as a high school freshman getting adjusted, but after she graduated as well.
After the atomic bomb, we lived in Hiroshima, so, I survived the atomic bomb. And then, knowing English, they wanted somebody who know English and Japanese to work for the army in Yokohama, So I moved over there, and, I worked for them because, the Japanese girl, they're a good typist, but they can't understand the English very well, so they can't type what the general or whoever was telling them what to type.
The 1940s proved to be a tumultuous decade. During World War II, Japanese Americans were relocated to detention camps. We're told the building was rented out to an American church. 1946, Japanese Americans returned to Norwalk. 11 years later, the center reopened. Eunice moved back in 1949, eventually reconnecting with the center. Today, she comes to their monthly senior meetings. Taiko Ueno, also part of the senior group, joined in 1958 when her son was 8 years old.
Well, my parents were living with us at that time. So, I don't know, they were happy, that he was learning some Japanese. And so, I thought it was good for him, to have some kind of a cultural backing.
Taiko continued to attend after her son graduated. She was active with the PTA and other groups within the center.
Well, they had classes, different kinds of classes, and they started the Nikkei seniors group, And then they had carnivals, and what else? They had all kinds of events. So that kept us coming.
The Japanese school held their first carnival or summer festival, inviting Japanese and non-Japanese neighbors.
Well, we've had it every year since 1963, and in Japan, every city has their own little cultural festival, and it's just a tradition in the summer, and it's called Obon. We're not religious here, but we want to showcase our culture with the community, with the festival here. We do some line dancing around the buildings, and we do some food tasting. We have displays of the cultural classes that we have here and some demonstrations of the martial arts that we have here.
Mary Iwami joined in 1970. It was a family affair. Her husband coached the youth activities group, and her children were both on the baseball and basketball teams.
And it was a good growth period for all of us because we were involved, and the kids enjoyed playing here, and there was a lot of activities. I mean, there's a lot of fundraising, and they were all part of it. It was very good.
Eventually, Mary became a board member, helping with events including casino night, fundraising dinners, and even a fashion show. She was also editor of the newsletter for nearly 20 years.
I was involved, and now I'm just relaxing. All I do is enjoy. It's nice, you know. But you know that you've done your share, so it's good too. And you let the younger people take care of it.
The school and center was growing and in need of more space. 1994, Norwalk's mayor at the time, Gordon Steffenhagen, along with other officials, took part in the groundbreaking for the new building annex.
We did only have 4 classrooms at the time, and we tried to expand into the old building that the Judo and the Karate were using. We split that into about 3 different classrooms, but it just wasn't enough space. So we decided to demolish that old building and add to the existing building.
10 additional classrooms, along with a multi-purpose room, were added, allowing for more school children and more activities to take place.
Our current curriculum is for students who are non-Japanese speaking. So in other words, it's a foreign language to them. So a lot of our parents don't even speak Japanese. Of course, some of the parents do, and one or both do speak Japanese, but the children do not. So they're here. Or they're not even Japanese. And for some reason, they would like their children to learn Japanese, so they're here as well. So we have classes from kindergarten all the way through adult classes.
During Saturday school, there's a monthly assembly held to celebrate the Japanese culture. This month, it's all about dolls and Girls' Day.
Today we're covering the Hinamatsuri, the Girls' Day Festival, or Princess Festival. And it's a tradition that goes back over 1,000 years in Japan, and we want the kids here to understand what it is and a little bit of the history of it.
And now for the history and tradition part.
There's dolls, various dolls representing the royal family and their retainers. You'll see gifts, you'll see their luggage, you'll see all different things, even the castle behind it. And it's good luck for the daughters to have this up. The parents will set it up every year, and right up until the festival, they have it in the house, they'll look at it, it'll be good luck in the house, and then right afterwards they have to bring it down, because otherwise it's bad luck and the daughters will not be able to get married.
Dolls are very expensive and typically passed down from generation to generation. This is one of the events that helps children understand the depth and richness of their Japanese culture.
You can mostly see these things in only museums, and you actually get to come to the school and learn more about it with more details.
When the dolls are set up, and on the day of Hinamatsuri, they would eat all these different types of foods to celebrate that day, like chirashi sushi and ushiro jiru. And they have these candies for children called hina arae, and they have different colors like pink, white, and green to help celebrate that day.
a lot of kids, before they came to the Japanese school, they don't really know about it because in America we don't celebrate it here. And so when you learn about a Japanese school, it's really interesting to just see how, like, in Japan they have festivals that we wouldn't have in America. Like, they have a specific day for girls to celebrate their like well-being in life.
In addition to Japanese school, they have classes for people of all ages to enjoy and appreciate. Judo, specifically Norwalk Judo Dojo, has been around since the 1930s. Jim Wakawa joined the center in 1973, starting out as a judo student, and is now head instructor.
My father was very good friends with our former head instructor, Tashima Sensei, who is pictured in our club. And basically one night he came home and he said, "We're going to start judo. I'm going to take you to the city of Norwalk. He's a very good friend of mine and you're going to learn a lot for the rest of your life." And that's how it got started.
Since its inception in 1931, the facility has undergone some notable changes.
Well, it used to be in our original building, which was just a little left to this building, and it was very different. There was no air conditioning, there was no heating. If we had windows in there, it was a little lucky, and it was a shared building by all the organizations, many of them that exist today. And when it was winter, it was extremely cold, and it was summer, it was stuffy and hot, but that was part of the discipline and the training.
There's more to the sport than just physical training.
Judo basically derived from several different martial arts, and the founder and creator of Judo, Jigoro Kano, who's pictured towards the center of the building, he basically took it as a vehicle to educate people in a form of education, in a form of, let's say, interacting in society. So from that particular point, we tried to kind of instill those type of principles into both our youth and adults, as well as some of the more veteran players that start a little bit later in life.
The city of Norwalk also shares an important connection to judo.
Significant dates: Judo started or was created in 1882. 1931 is the first documented picture that we have of Norwalk Judo in the original building. 1932, the following year, was the first visit by the founder to the city of Norwalk in this particular area, and that was pretty amazing. Very few people have documentation of that. And in 1964, Judo became an Olympic sport.
Kendo Dojo is another martial art rich in tradition. Jean Kodama has followed Kendo Dojo since she was in kindergarten and is now teaching it to others.
Me and my two brothers, we were the first new students at Norwalk Kendo Dojo. It was started by Hara Sensei, who is my uncle, and he's actually a pretty famous sensei. I found out after researching for our Norwalk Kendo Dojo 50th anniversary. He was actually very famous and important sensei in the 1930s, before World War II. And after World War II, he started back up Kendo and started the dojo here at the center in 1964.
Jean says they try to keep it less of a sport and more of a martial art, focusing on tradition and discipline. And instead of using a metal sword, they use a bamboo sword.
Because we value tradition and basic training, it always begins and ends with etiquette, or dei. Dei literally translates as bow, but it also means the proper attitude and respect for your opponent, whether they're more senior or junior to you. Of course, the junior person must listen to and respect the senior, but the senior also has the responsibility to take care of the junior.
As far as a ceremonial instrument rich in historical significance, that would be the Taiko drum. Archaeological evidence suggests it's been around since the 6th century during the Kofun period, and it's another one of the classes taught at the Japanese Center.
The history of taiko was originally used for, like in villages, it was used to signify how large your village was, how much territory you owned. So the bigger drum you had, the more territory you owned. Your territory was based on how far out your drum could be heard. And it would also be so that way you could call the members of your village if you had a meeting or you needed to tell them something or get them together. You would do different types of drum beats would bring them in for different things. It was used for celebrations. It was used in the temples. It was used during wartime to send signals. So the taiko drum has a long history of being something other than actually a musical instrument as far as creating music.
Fast forward to today, taiko drumming has gained worldwide popularity as a musical instrument. Kurt tells us how he discovered the Taiko drums.
I started playing regular drums, like, in bands, rock band drumming. And so a friend took me to a concert, and it was just so overwhelming. It was so powerful. The sound of the drums, the dynamics, the movement. To me, it's kind of all of it. It really is very exciting to watch. And you feel it. So you feel it inside, you feel it in your heart. And so to me, that's the part I love about it.
For the past 18 years, Taiko has been a part of Kurt's life, and like many others, started out taking classes and is now an instructor. For those who enjoy a more subdued form of expression, there's hula dancing. Karen Kawina Toyoshiba is Japanese and was born in Hawaii. She began teaching 20 years ago.
Personally, for me, it was because I'm from Hawaii, it was like it's from within. It's like a spirit from within. So it's hard to teach that unless I teach them the song. And because most of the songs are in Hawaiian, I translate it for them. And that way they get the feeling of what the song is about, and they can exhibit that in their hula. And the hands tell the story, the hip, the feet keeps the rhythm. And as long as they're moving to the rhythm and telling the stories with the hand, that's all. They call it the mana, the spirit.
The ladies range in age from 23 to 84.
It's kind of a fun thing. It gets them out of the house, gets them moving, it helps their balance, it coordinates them, and they don't know they're learning because they're having fun. So we perform.
Other activities and classes taught include flower arranging, calligraphy, and even cooking. To keep kids active and engaged, they have boys and girls team sports for all ages, including basketball and baseball.
Well, they're like my family, so I look forward to playing with them every Saturday. I've been doing it since like second grade, so as long as I can remember, I'm just playing with my guys.
I like playing with my friends mostly because we have this good bond, so we know where everybody is on the court and what they're good at. So that's how we can win games.
Beyond the basketball and sports, there's an emphasis on community and giving back.
I actually grew up playing here. Basketball from 4th to 12th grade, so I know a lot of the older generation, and so I basically have brought my family to come back to the community center. It's definitely a tight-knit feeling that you get in a family atmosphere.
Cleet Ikamoto's daughter, Caitlin, is grateful for the Japanese school and for the center. She's been taking classes for 7 years and is also in the basketball team.
I've got to experience learning in class with them every single week, and my friendships have grown stronger. My relationships with the school, with the teachers, with the whole community center, it feels like it's really important to me that I've been able to make a strong connection.
Well, the community center is here because of everybody's support. Everybody needs to do their part because we're all volunteers here. Nobody's paid except for the teachers, of course. But it's here because of all of the efforts and the families coming here to do their part to keep this community center working.
The walls house the history, but it's the people who believe in the center and the community that make this an important part of Norwalk and America's past. For your Highlight in History, I'm Jacqueline Twegg.